Many Mainers face a decision when their current heating system reaches the end of its life or is nearing it. Do they want to continue with oil or switch to another fuel source?
And while cost is often the #1 factor in making that decision, Keith Carson shows us in an ongoing series on Maine's changing climate tonight that consumers are valuing lower carbon heating solutions like a tried and true fuel that may be greener than you think.
According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, about 60% of Mainers still use oil or kerosene to heat their homes. This is due largely to the rural nature of the state, limited natural gas access, and high heating loads. Oil, of course, is a fossil fuel and emits more carbon per unit of heat than any fuel but coal. For some people looking to make a switch, air source heat pumps are an option. But for older homes with lower insulation value and more blocky floor plans, that might not be the best choice. Enter biofuels, such as wood and wood pellets. Not only are they relatively carbon friendly, more on that in a minute, they're also a lot less hands-on compared to systems of the past.
The boiler itself is extremely similar to your standard oil or gas-fired boiler. It makes hot water. We do it with pellet fuel, obviously. One of the larger differences that you'll have is the fuel storage. This is an example of a bulk pellet storage bin that you would normally place in your basement.
There is a considerable upfront cost to the transition, however.
You're looking at about a $30,000 installed cost, complete with everything that you would need. And then there's lots of rebates and incentives. Maine's offering $6,000. There's some federal tax credits that you could qualify for. And then additionally, you have thermal credits on the fuel.
There can be savings when it comes to the fuel, but that varies by year, dependent on the volatile crude and natural gas futures market. Pellets don't always come in cheaper, but they are more stable price-wise. Now back to the carbon-friendly nature of biofuels. Some important conditions must be met.
As long as the pellets are sourced from forests that are growing faster than they're being removed, in other words, the growth rate is greater than the removal rate, then the stock of carbon held in that forest never shrinks, which means any molecules of carbon dioxide released in combustion are absorbed by the new growth in that forest essentially contemporaneously.
It's worth noting that biofuels as a green energy source is a hot topic in the scientific world. The main debate stems around whether or not we should be adding CO2 to the atmosphere in the short term, even knowing that eventually, with the regrowth of tree stock, the carbon will be recaptured. Still, most pellets are derived from excess timber products such as compacted sawdust and industrial waste from milling lumber, meaning that, in general, trees aren't being harvested for the specific purpose of producing pellets. So it can be said with reasonable certainty that biofuels are still more carbon and eco-friendly than oil, natural gas, or propane. I'm News Center Maine meteorologist Keith Carson.